Hello, Jordan Burris here. Would you like to hear a gospel song? Today's song is one of the most well-known American hymns of the 20th century, written out of an adoration for the sacrifices of Jesus Christ. But before we get to the song, here's a brief bit of history about the song and the songwriter, George Bennard. George Bennard was born in Youngstown, Ohio on February 4th, 1873. He was ordained in the Methodist Episcopal Church and would spend most of his life in Michigan and Wisconsin. Bennard was active with the Salvation Army and would travel to revivals and evangelize throughout the United States and Canada. At one such revival in Albion, Michigan, Bennard was ridiculed and heckled so aggressively that he claimed to have felt burdened like Christ carrying the cross. Inspired by this experience, Bennard would sit down and begin writing the lyrics to what would become the hymn, The Old Rugged Cross. Some weeks later, Bennard would travel to Pokagon, Michigan to assist his friend and pastor, Leroy Boswick, at a series of revival meetings at the First Methodist Episcopal Church of Pokagon. It was at this church that Bennard would complete the Old Rugged Cross and perform it for Leroy, his wife Ruby, and a few other church members. When Bennard had finished performing the song, the small group sat awestruck. Ruby Boswick was brought to tears by the song. Some months later, with the help of composer Charles Gabriel, the completed piece was performed by a choir of 5 for the church congregation. Bennard would sell the publishing rights to the song in 1915 for a small amount of money to Homer Rodeheaver, who was a member of the Billy Sunday evangelistic campaigns. Billy Sunday was an American baseball player and one of the most influential evangelists of the early 1900s. In 1952, country music pioneer Ernest Tubb would use The Old Rugged Cross as the title song for an album of gospel music, and it has been a country gospel standard ever since. It has now been recorded by everybody from Al Green to Merle Haggard, from Ella Fitzgerald to Patsy Cline. George Bennard would pass away on October the 10th, 1958, at the age of 85. The First Methodist Episcopal Church of Pokagon, Michigan, where George would complete and first perform the Old Rugged Cross, was purchased and restored in 1998 by Bob and Molly Schaefer. The couple would rename the worship house the Old Rugged Cross Church. Part museum and part event space, the church offers hymn sings on the first and third Sunday of every month, which focus on older, more traditional hymns. The hymn sings are popular with folks from all religious sects and backgrounds. The Schaefers say it's not unusual to see a Catholic sitting beside a Mormon, sitting beside a Baptist, all gathered together with their common love of traditional church song. I hope you enjoyed that brief bit of history about The Old Rugged Cross, written by the late, the great George Bennard. I will be performing the first and fourth verses of the song, but to those who are interested, I will include the full lyrics in the video description below.
On a hill far away stood an old rugged cross, the emblem of suffering and shame. And I love that old cross where the dearest and best for world of lost sinners was slain. So I'll cherish the old rugged cross till my trophies at last I lay down. I will cling to the old rugged cross and exchange it someday for a crown. To the old rugged cross I will ever be true, its shame and reproach gladly bear. Then he'll call me someday to my home far away, where his glory